What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 31, AYS Fight Club, here on Thursday, May 27th. No UFC this weekend, but we got plenty enough to talk about. One of those few weekends with no UFC going on, but that's all right. There's enough going on in the world of MMA. That's the beautiful thing about the sport. There's always something going on, and even more so, we've got some local MMA going on, aka 15, taking place tomorrow in Monroe, the Hub City Music Hall. If you can't get out there, you can catch it all online. Beautiful thing about the internet now. Prelims start at 5:30 on AKA's Facebook page, which is just type in AKA Fights and it'll pull up their Facebook page. And then at 7 o'clock, the main card, the main pro card starts on UFC Fight Pass. So if you have Fight Pass, tune in, catch that. I think it's 6 pro fights right now, plus the title fight. They just had the weigh-ins not too long ago, so hopefully looks like we'll be able to talk to Cody Freeman, who is fighting in the main event tonight, looking for the double gold. It's already the current AKA professional featherweight champion. Going to bump down to bantamweight, so we'll see how that weight cut went, knocking off 10 extra pounds. It's a lot of weight when you're already down that low. For somebody like me, I could afford to cut 10 pounds, and it wouldn't be nothing. But when you're already down to 145 pounds, 10 pounds is a lot. So we'll see how he's doing. We'll see what's going on with that. But we did have UFC last weekend, though, so we'll go ahead and we'll talk about that. We have UFC Vegas 27 last weekend, the main event with Rob Font and Cody Garbrandt in the main event with Rob Font, who went in there and just took control. 5-round decision from Cody Garbrandt. Ended up with 120, 130 something significant strikes. Definitely went in there, did what he needed to do. For a while, he was fighting maybe once a year or so, but here recently, he can stay consistent. That's the big thing with Rob Font. I think if he can stay consistent in his fight count, there's definitely a new star in that division. Especially getting a win over a former champion, that's always got to do a lot for your resume there. Also, on the every single fight on the main card except one went to a decision. And of all of them, the one fight you would expect that would have went to a decision is the one that ended with the TKO, which is the co-main event, Carla Esparza getting the second round TKO stoppage win. So, I don't know. It looks like we may get that rematch with Rose Namajunas, with both on the initial season of the Ultimate Fighter with strawweights. That first season of strawweights, they actually crowned the champion at the end of that season. Rose and Esparza met in the finals to crown the champion, with Esparza taking that one. But there's a lot of change in the years since. Thug Rose has went on to win the title and definitely developed and grown as a fighter. Esparza the same thing, but getting back in the situation she's in. But definitely for Rose to get back to where she's the champion now. So we'll have to see the tides have flipped a little bit. That's if they don't go with the rematch. But if not, then you never know. That may have been the match we got out of it. And then also on the main card, two middleweights that really needed a win to get back in, Edmund Shabazian and Jack Hermanson. And Hermanson was able to take the decision on that one. That's when we had kind of talked about both of those guys needed to get back on track, and whoever got back on track, would have the inside step on getting closer to the title shot. Both of those very young guys, so they, not very young as far as Hermanson, but I mean, young enough to where there's still, life to where they can keep going and make a shot up the division. But Hermanson definitely needed that win, so that was a big one for him. So we talked a little bit on the UFC Vegas. Jump over to some boxing news with a lot going on right now in boxing. ESPN just recently updated their pound-for-pound list. They have a new number one pound-for-pound fighter Canelo Alvarez now up after his win over Billy Joe Saunders, bumped up to the number 1, bumping Terrence Crawford down to the number 2 spot. A lot of people are kind of back and forth on that one. A lot of say, Canelo's strength of schedule should have it over Crawford, but, Crawford's, his abilities, and you should have him number 1. That's the thing about rankings and pound for pound rankings is, it's all subjective. There's nothing nothing written or nothing that you can write that you can lay out and say, okay, this is the criteria to be, pound for pound number 1. It's all, just based in the hands of whoever's looking at it. Well, I don't even know how many people they have on that panel, but if it's 10 and you get 10 different people, they may have a whole different pound for pound top 10. So that's just the thing with the pound for pound. You're going to have that, those issues when you look at pound for pound rankings. Same thing with MMA. There's a lot about their pound for pound rankings, and it's just the thing about it's not like, and I guess that's the downside of it not being like other sports. Hockey, baseball, basketball, it's objective. You know who's going to win. You get the most points, you win, period. You look at the stat sheets, you look at the standings. It's very objective. You know exactly, what needs to happen for your team to win. You know exactly where you stand. It's almost law. Like, you look at the rankings, you know where you are. But that's unfortunately, that's the thing with MMA and boxing. Even with judging, it's almost, you get 3 judges, may judge it one way. You get 3 different judges, they may judge it a whole different way. Unfortunately, that's the nature of the sport. But also, some more boxing news is Manny Pacquiao has his next fight, and it's against Errol Spence Jr. Definitely excited for that one. I'm a huge Errol Spence Jr. fan. So definitely looking forward to that one. That's going to be a pretty exciting fight. I believe it's August 27th, I think. August 26th, whatever that Saturday is. So we got about 3 months or so we'll definitely talk more about it when that one gets a little closer. But man, that's definitely going to be an exciting fight to check out. So since we have no UFC tomorrow, so like I said, it's one of those weekends where there's no UFC. It's very rare. It'll be right back into it on the 5th. Rosenstruck is in the main event. So we may talk about that one a little bit. I may go ahead and pull up that card right now. We'll have it up. We may jump into that and talk about that a little bit. But right now, though, we'll talk about AKA 15, which, for any of you that don't know, is regional-based organization, mainly in Louisiana. The fighters come from all over, mainly Louisiana, Texas. You'll get some from Mississippi, some from Arkansas. I mean, I've seen them last card. There's a fighter from New Mexico. So, I mean, they come from all over, but it's mainly Louisiana, East Texas. Arkansas is probably your most representation. Good bit of Mississippi too, but it's American Combat Alliance. This is going to be AKA 15. I want to say I think this is going to be the 3rd card that is going to be broadcasted on UFC Fight Pass. So, that's a big thing for any regional organization to get yourself on Fight Pass. That's huge worldwide exposure for these fighters. And now AKA is going on the road a little bit. Most of their shows are normally in their home area of Shreveport, Louisiana, which for any of you that may not be in this area is the northern part of the state. But now they're going to move over a little bit to Monroe, Louisiana, and do a show there. Just trying to get around a little bit, give some of those fighters a chance that, it may be hard for them to travel. Because like I said, a lot of these fighters, especially like amateur fighters, they got to figure everything out, on their own. So, you try your best to move around as much as you can to give fighters in different areas, give them an opportunity to showcase their skills and to compete. So going to Monroe, it'll help showcase, the fighters in that area. Which, there's a lot of very solid fighters out there. The Chrome Gracie gym out that way, they produce, there's a ton of great fighters coming out of that area, out of that school, even particularly. Um, so just a little background there on the AKA, and they're also going to have one professional title fight, the main event. We've talked about before a little bit, is Cody Freeman and Jonathan Island. Cody Freeman the bout is going to be for the 135-pound bantamweight professional title. Cody Freeman right now is the pro featherweight champion, so he's looking for the double title status, but he's going to go down. So he's got to go down in weight. He's got to cut 10 pounds. So we'll see how that's going for him. Jonathan Island, very strong for that weight class. Very strong, very dangerous fighter. Majority of his wins, say he's got 4 pro wins, maybe 5, but all of them, I think, except one, are from submission. But he's so dangerous on his feet. He just gets you down to the ground from his stand up, and then he can work his ground game. So that's going to be an amazing main event there. Jonathan Island, last bout, he faced Brandon Davis, who is a UFC veteran, working on his way getting back to the UFC. So he's been in there with tough talent. Doesn't get much more difficult than somebody who's had several bouts in the UFC. Is almost on their way back in. So and now it's going to be on Fight Pass in the main event. That's huge. So also on the card, we have Tyler Jones and Josh Lee. It's going to be a middleweight battle. Two guys that have been around, for 2 veterans. This is going to be, about that you can definitely just sit back and watch and just enjoy what good MMA fighting is. 2 guys that are good all over. They're not going to get stuck in one spot, trying to do something. No matter where the fight is, both of these guys are going to be able to try to do whatever they need to do. So that's going to be a good, mixed fight. Wherever it goes, either one of them can, take the steps they need to try to win. One of them that I'm really looking forward to is Craig Grove and Jesse Henry at welterweight at 170 pounds. Jesse Henry, started his amateur career, very bumpy amateur career, but that's where you find out, who the real fighters are. He's able to turn his amateur career around and actually develop a professional career. So, and he's got that huge wingspan, the huge height, 6'4", 6'5", up in that area. Big guy for a welterweight, and he's got that huge reach. And early in his career, he didn't really use the reach. The jabs were just kind of tight in, but now I've seen in his last couple of fights, especially in the pro ranking, he's really developed how to use his length and keep his opponents at the end of the strikes and really making them pay if they try to come in. So, he's getting better and better every fight. Craig Grove is, dangerous Muay Thai style striker, but he's very dangerous on the ground as well. His last bout, he fought Craig Crosby. I want to say it was AKA 13. He defeated Chris Crosby, who's a black belt, very solid black belt, submitted him. So that just shows you right there, he's got the stand-up, but then if you can submit a black belt, that just shows how tight your ground game is as well. So this is going to be interesting to see, where these two, take the fight and how it progresses. Then you have Chris Miller and Jesse Roberts, which is definitely going to be, they're going to be at lightweight. Jesse Roberts, this is going to be his second professional pro fight. He made his debut at Bellator against AJ Agrazarm, who is a very dangerous jiu-jitsu ace, ventured into MMA. So, that got a lot of big publication and a lot of press coverage, for that match. And Roberts went in there and won. He got the decision. I think it was a split decision, but decision, he got the win. So get your pro career off to a pretty good start on a stage like that on Bellator, and then his amateur career, he's got wins over AJ Fletcher, who is definitely the next high profile professional prospect out of this area. He's definitely going to be in the big leagues any day now, I'm sure. He's got a win over AJ Fletcher. He's also got a win over Lauren Thibodeau, who is a very dangerous competitor, and he fought the last AKA event. He's just a very dangerous guy, and he's got wins over both of those guys in their time in amateur. So Roberts is very dangerous. Chris Miller comes out of the War Training Center in Texas. I've seen him compete where I commentated a fight at Atlas where he was down not down per se on the ground, but he was behind in the fight and just fought his way back and ended up scoring the victory, getting the finish. So somebody like that who you can't count out no matter what, and then somebody with the skills of Roberts is definitely going to make for a very dangerous clash. And then aside from that, I think there's 4 fights on the amateur section of the card, which, like I said, that portion starts at 5:30. So you'll have your amateur fights starting at 5:30 on the AKA Facebook page, and then at 7 the pro fights take over. I think there was 7, but Don Doyle, who last competed in the amateur ranks, decided to go pro. He was the lightweight and welterweight champion for the amateur ranks. Decided to go pro. He had a welterweight matchup. His opponent, I think, broke some ribs training, so they weren't able to find a replacement during a fight, especially for as dangerous a fighter as Doyle is. You're not gonna find somebody that late notice that to step in for it's a very dangerous matchup. So that's AKA right there for you. We'll go ahead and we'll take a look at the UFC card for next week. Like I said, there's no UFC this weekend. Everything's cleared up. Devin Haney's boxing. Go ahead on the Zone, watch some boxing on Saturday. Devin Haney. Also, there's some MMA in Poland, which we'll get to. That's actually tomorrow. So we'll talk about that in a second here. But we'll go ahead and look at this. It's going to be UFC Vegas 28. It's going to be our next UFC event. Like I said, not this weekend, but the weekend after. It's June 5th. It's going to be Jairzinho Rozenstruik versus Augusto Saki is the main event. It's a 6-fight main card. We got Walt Harris and Marcin Tybura in the co-main event. So you got your co-main and your main event, both heavyweight battles, which those can end, very highlight, real style finishes. Santiago Ponzinibbio and Miguel Baeza in the welterweight. Roman Dolidze, who's very dangerous striker, is Loriano Staropoli. And then you have Dusko Tortovich and Gregory Rodriguez in the middleweight division. And then, there's some more even on this undercard. There's Marquand Miracani on the undercard. You got Ariane Lipinski versus Montana De La Rosa, which that's going to be a really good fight. Ariane Lipinski was the KSW strawweight champion and vacated the title before going over to UFC. And there actually hasn't been a women's KSW champion since. Whenever she vacated the title a couple years ago, I want to say it was about 2, maybe 3 years ago, she vacated the title. That there hasn't been any KSW women's titles matches since. So we'll see if they decide to bring that back. Youssef Zalil, Sean Woodson. That's going to be a really good fight too. This undercard is really good, especially for one of the fight night cards. There's just, if it's not a number of cards, it's always going to be a fight night card to me. Uh, and then you got the ton of heavyweight fights. You got Tanner Bozier and Ilir Latifi going at it. Two veterans. Bozier, going to be like his 28th, 29th pro fight. Latifi, 14-8. Moved up from light heavyweight division, where he was a mainstay for a very long time. Had made his pro debut against Derek Lewis. So, I mean, that's a pretty tough pro debut to make. Going there against Derek Lewis, probably one of the top, three heavyweights in the UFC, and that's your debut. That's tough. But his last couple of fights, he's on a bit of a skid right now. But he lost to Corey Anderson and Volkan Ozdemir, and then he had the Lewis loss. So I mean, that's a couple, some dangerous names there to lose to, And then before that, he has lost to Ryan Bader and the current champion Jan Blachowicz. So I mean, you look at Latifi's losses in his career. I mean, he's fought some of the biggest names out there. And then before that, it was Gegard Mousasi. And then, he's got lost to Emmanuel Newton, who was, had a huge run in Bellator. So, I mean, this guy has fought, the best names out there, and his losses, are to, some very dangerous fighters. But Tanner Bozier, since he's come over to the UFC, he's very impressive. Canadian heavyweight, he was with M1, which is based out of Russia. He was, he fought over there for a while. Fought with, ACB, which is now ACA now. He's fought all over there in Russia, and fought all those big guys over there, and came to the UFC, and he's looked great so far. His current record, we got in the UFC 3-2. His last outing was that decision loss to Andre Arlovsky. That was in November, so about 6 months. Getting back in there after about 6 months. So I mean, I think Bozier will get it. I mean, they're both. I just think Latifi going up to heavyweight and against a guy like Bozier, is a very solid heavyweight, but who has an amazing gas tank as heavyweight, it's going to give Latifi some problems. So, definitely see probably going to a decision with Bozier taking the decision. And then women's strawweight, a name that I've been big on for a while. Even before she was in the UFC, even when she was at UAE, which is based in the United Arab, is Maignan Furo. She is a French, mainly a striker. Definitely very dangerous striker. Her last one was against Victoria Leonardo in January. So, about 4 months, taking her second fight of 2021. That was her UFC debut. But she's a very dangerous striker, very dangerous fighter. She won the season for EFC Worldwide, which EFC is based in South Africa. It was I forget what it's called, but it's their version of the Ultimate Fighter. And she actually won that season and won the championship, and then went to UAE Warriors is the name of it, UAE Warriors. Won that championship, and she's looking good so far in the UFC. But that's just a name that I've really been big on even before she got in the UFC. She's got a great management team, Resilience Sports Management, based out of France. I've worked a lot with them. Great people over there, letting me know, hey, this is a fighter you need to look into. That's how I heard about Furo. That told me about her and watched some video, and it's very impressive. And that's a big thing that we try to do here at AYS Fight Club, and a big thing I try to do personally ever since I've been writing. I'm going on 4 years now. 3 years, right around 4 years, and the big thing that I try to do is look for the fighters before they get into the UFC. Everybody knows about them once they're in the UFC, but how do they get there? What's their path? What's their journey there? And that's what I try to cover. That's what I try to dig into. So, fighters like this, and then once you see them get there, you already know exactly what's going on. You know about them, you know how they got there, you know their backstory, which is why I always loved The Ultimate Fighter. I've said this a ton of times about The Ultimate Fighter. Not really a fan of it now, but it was a great way. It's to me, it served its purpose to introduce the world to fighters as people. See their background story, see their families, see their struggles and what they go through. So, it was, to me, it was a great eye-opening thing from that, and I'm sure it was for many people. That's what I try to do is, find those fighters before they get in the UFC. Love to cover regional MMA because all these fighters in the UFC, they all came from somewhere. Nobody just jumps right into the UFC. Bellator, different, but it's certain. It's pretty high-profile names. They were real big in other aspects before. But finding those people who, maybe had a rough amateur career, or maybe who started out 1-2, 1-3 as a pro, and then turned it around. Those are the kind of people that I love to look for. And Firo is definitely one of those, just young, up and coming. France just legalized MMA last year, so there was a lot of different rules, just different things that really didn't make it MMA. But it's finally legal there, and we're starting to see some names starting to arise out of that. And I definitely think she's going to be that torchbearer for French MMA, especially French women's MMA. I mean, there's no one that can even in that part of the world that can come close to her right now. I mean, she's in the UFC for a reason. She's definitely an extremely dangerous fighter. But as far as the main event, Rosenstruck and Saki, Rosenstruck is one of those guys too that I've seen, before being in the UFC. Especially with Ryzen, big fan of Ryzen. He's, except for that Ngannou loss, he's got a loss to Cyril Gane, who's a French heavyweight. That was a decision. But the Ngannou loss probably hurt the most. That quick 20-second knockout. He come back though, and he got the win against Junior Dos Santos. So, and this is going to be a good one. This is definitely going to be a very close contest. Saki, coming off of the loss to Alistair Overeem, that looks rough now. Maybe 10 years ago it wasn't so bad to suffer to have an Overeem loss on your record, but now, and that was in September, not even a year ago to get an Overeem loss. So that kind of probably leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. Before that, though, I mean, he was 4-0, coming off a Contender Series win. So he had a Contender Series knockout and then went 4-0, and then ran into Overeem. So I mean, you just never know. Could have been a bad night. Could have been, that the name, Overeem, it's just, he could have been starstruck a bit. It could have set him back a little bit, so we'll see. And this is definitely going to be a good one, though. I'm going to go with Rosenstruck, but man, if Saki wins, it wouldn't surprise me. I could see him getting the decision win. Both these guys can go to the decision. It's going to be very, very close. I'm looking at it on Tapology, and they have Rosenstruck as the number 7 heavyweight and Saki as number 9. And then the co-main event, Walt Harrison's number 10, and then Marcin Tybura is number 8. So you got 7, 8, 9, and 10 in the main and co-main event. So, they're really, packing them close there, trying to, shake some stuff up. This is definitely going to shake some stuff up right here after this event. You got 4 guys probably right there at the bottom half of the top 10. Once you, I mean, and nowadays it's not, you don't have to be number 1 contender to get a title shot. You can practically pretty much be about anywhere, but I mean, if you're in that right around, 5-ish area, you could definitely end up on the, getting a title shot. So this is huge for all 4 of these guys, in the co-main event. Like I said, Walt Harris, Marcin Tybura. I'm going to go with Tybura. I typically do go with the side with the Polish fighter. He's on a hot run right now. He's got 4 in a row. He's got the ground and pound in his last win in December against Greg Hardy. He's got a win over Ben Rothwell. So he's got a win over some big fighters. He's had a couple losses too. I mean, he actually lost to Saki a couple years ago. Derek Lewis. So I mean, he's got a couple losses that kind of hurt. But the best way to do it is just go back on a run. And the heavyweight division is one of those divisions that you win a couple and you're right in the title picture. Some of those divisions like welterweight, lightweight, you need to put 7, 8 together, and they need to be against top tier fighters. So that's probably Ryan wanting a title shot, huh? You gonna go for the big boys at heavyweight? But yeah, I mean, and then especially at the top of the heavyweight division with whatever the hell is going on there, with the back and forth with John Jones, whatever he's gonna do, saying he wants more money. It looks like Derek Lewis. I think Derek Lewis is going to get that next title shot. It would not surprise me if Derek Lewis gets the next shot against Ngannou. And then they'll just have to figure out what they're going to do with Stipe. I really don't think Stipe is going to get the title shot. It's just so hard to, even though it's 1-1 now, and a lot of times they like, they're infamous for doing that rubber match. Man, just the way the last one ended, and then you got Derek Lewis right there, and then if John Jones wants it, I'm sure they'll give. If they can get a money number right, I see no reason why they wouldn't put John Jones in that spot. But that's going to be a big contestant. The money thing, especially with the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder 3. I think they announced they're going to be making around 50 to 70 million for the fight each. A lot of these MMA guys are going to want that too. That they're going to say, "Hey, I can sell more pay-per-views than this person. Why is our cut so much smaller? And we sell more pay-per-views than they do." There's a lot to it. In boxing, a lot more of the money goes to the fighters, and whereas in MMA, it's going more to the Dana White's pockets to own Endeavor's pockets, and likewise Bellator, we're going to Paramount or whoever owns Paramount or whatever, and Scott Coker's pockets. But that's always been a big thing too. Between boxing and MMA is the money division. You're going to get a lot more people doing what Ben Askren did, going over to sites like Triller, for get the big payday. I think you're going to get a lot more of that. You had the Mike Tyson, Roy Jones. I know they're trying to legitimize a little bit with Teofimo Lopez fighting next month, I think. So they're trying to legitimize a little bit, getting somebody like Lopez. John Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul. I don't know, whichever one it is, whichever one wants to get beat by Mayweather. Logan Paul is, I think, through Showtime, because they released a listing of the announcers and things like that. Mauro Ranallo is going to be involved, so that's definitely a cool thing. But you're going to see a lot more MMA fighters doing that because of the way the money is set up. Until they can get something like an Ali Act over in MMA, where the books have to be opened up and the fighters can see where the money is going. That's going to be a big thing too. But looks like we have Cody Freeman is here with us. What's up, Cody?
What's up? What's up, guys? What's up?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? says I have internet connection. Oh, I do. It says that I'm. That's not. I don't think it's my phone.
There you go. Can you hear me?
You able to hear me? I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello. I can hear you. Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what happened to my video. I'll get that fixed. But how'd everything go with the weigh-ins? How you feeling after cutting the weight down?
Oh man, dude, I feel great. Uh, this was honestly the easiest cut I've ever had to 135. It was smooth as can be. Uh, like I got here to Monroe last night, kind of late, around 11 or so. By the time I set everything up, like I set up my little personal sauna in the hotel room, and I mean, I got to work, and it was. I showed up with 5.5 pounds to cut. I worked for about an hour and a half, and I was on weight last night. I mean, it was easy money.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I hear from a lot of fighters, and I know you have the 145 title, so cutting that extra 10 pounds, I didn't know how that was gonna. I mean, you look good, you sound good, so I mean, that's the important thing. You
Oh,
think that's something you're gonna be able to do is go back and forth, or?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the last fight, I'm a bantamweight. Like the last fight at 45 was my only professional fight at 145. I mean, I fought at featherweight for most of my amateur career, but for the most part, I've always been a bantamweight. I did at points in my career though struggle with the weight cut to 135, but it's I spent the entire pandemic really trying to figure out my weight and my weight management, and now I got people helping me with my nutrition, and I figured out where I was going wrong, and you know, like I said, this weight cut to 35 couldn't have been easier. Like to go in and have to half, like it was crazy easy.
Man, that's awesome. That's good. So you had your face off today. How was that to actually see your opponent in front of you and put the face to it? Because I know you're training and you think about it when you're training, but what is it like to get that face off and actually see that person right in front of you? Does it make it more real, or does it change gears for you a little bit mentally?
Um, I mean, it's cool to see them in person and kind of get to size them up, but for the
Yeah.
most part, I really just don't you know I don't try to put too much value on who it is I'm fighting per se. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do what I got to do regardless. Um, you know, who I fight doesn't change my style, and it doesn't change. I don't have game plans for fights. I go in and I just do shit. That I get into that flow state and I just start doing what I do. And I feel like that's worked out really well for me. And like I said, it's cool to put a face to it and see him there in front of me and size him up. But for the most part, I can see him for the first time on fight day. It wouldn't change anything for me.
Yeah, I hear that from fighters. It's about 50-50. I know a lot of fighters they just go in there and, this is my game plan. I'm going to stick to it. A lot of them, they try to play off of their opponent's weaknesses. They watch a lot of film. So you don't really watch a lot of film on your opponent. You kind of go in there, hey, this is my strengths and this is just what I'm going to do.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, when I get an opponent, I go back and I'll watch their two most recent fights once, um, and that's it. I don't revisit. I don't go back and dwell on what they do or how they got beat because people evolve, and I feel like if you go in with expectations for somebody and you show up in the cage with this, the way, in your mind, this is how it's going to go because this is how you've seen them fight, and they show up a different way. For some people, that can really fuck up your fight. I've had it happen. It's the reason that I stopped doing game planning is because my second professional loss, I like continuously watched video of this guy, continuously watched video, and I swore this is how this guy was going to fight, and I knew exactly how I was going to beat him, and I went in and he fought the complete opposite of how I had watched, and it threw me through a loop, and I ended up getting finished for the only time in my pro career because of it. And ever since then, it's like I've completely abandoned game planning.
Yeah, I was actually talking about that before you came on. That's why I love watching regional and watching, fighters coming up from smaller organizations around the world. Because once you get to the places like UFC or stuff, you're kind of developed and set in your system and set in your ways. But on the regional scenes and these smaller organizations, you really develop. And, that's exactly like you just said, all these fighters change from fight to fight. And
Absolutely.
that's one of the fun things about watching, staying close with, especially regional. For I always encourage people to go out there and support regional MMA because, like I said, nobody started in the UFC. They all came from somewhere. They all grew and developed from somewhere. And speaking of regional action, and that's even changing too with like AKA now on Fight Pass. That's huge. Your
Yeah.
fight with Colin, that was I think the first one that was on Fight Pass, huh? For AKA.
Yeah, it was great that I got to be, you know, the main event for their first.
Oh, I think we lost you. Must be that great service out there in Monroe. You still there, Cody? I think we lost him.
Show on Fight Pass. It was awesome.
All right, you still there? I think we lost you. Try to add Cody back here in a second, but yeah, like you were saying, fighters can evolve. The game plan changes, and that's why I love asking that question and hearing that question from different fighters. Is some fighters really game plan, and some go in there with their own hey, this is what I know works for me. This is what I'm comfortable doing. This is what I'm gonna go in there and do. And some fighters I've seen have said that they're different. They study. They're more as far as the way their system works. It's easier for them to get in there and kind of game plan and formulate what they're doing, and watch the opponent. And like Cody said, he's a little bit different, and obviously that's worked for him. That's what's got some gold on one shoulder, and it's got him fighting to put gold on the other shoulder. It's just every fighter is different. you know. But looks like we got Cody's trying to get back on here. We'll get him on. But yeah, I mean, let's try it again. Oh, there we go. I think we got you now. Oh, I think we had him. think we got you. Still there, Cody? I think we got him.
Yeah.
I think it's that great service out there in Monroe. But like I said, AKA 15 and 5:30 is the prelim start. You can catch that on the AKA Facebook page, and then at 7 on UFC Fight Pass. You know, it's a huge opportunity for these fighters to get on a worldwide stage. And to really build up their name, especially the fighters that really want to pursue their professional career. Fighting on a place like Fight Pass is a huge opportunity. It's a visual resume. It's something they can put on their fight resume. It's something visual that they can record and pass around. And oh, I think we got you. I think you're back now. We're trying here. I think it's just a bad service. Just a way out there. Probably just a bad connection. But yeah, if you can, like I said, anybody can get out there. Go to the. They probably still have tickets. If they do, very few left. It's at the Hub City Music Hall in Monroe. Go to the AKA Fights is the website. Check it out there. Go to the Facebook page. There you go. Can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me on your ends? All right, I think we lost Cody, but all right, we'll go ahead and end it there. But yeah, like I said, a lot of even there's no UFC, there's still a lot of fights going on this weekend. Gets out if you're in the Louisiana area, get to Monroe. There's some, like I said, Devin Haney's boxing. There's FEN 34 in Poland, which will take place tomorrow. You can see that through their website. It's about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock Central Time. It's about a 6-hour difference from Poland, so it's about 2 o'clock Central Time. Go to their website; you can check it out. Great fights there. Franz Malambo, who used to fight in Bellator, is making his debut. He just signed with the organization, and then a week later, they got him in the title fight. So he's fighting for the title fight, fighting for the title tomorrow. Paulo Tribala fighting in the main event again. Last time, it's a rematch. Last time his opponent's ear exploded from a right hook. So, they're going to run it back. Very heated weigh-ins last time. It seemed a little bit more calm this time. I talked to Powell about it. He said he just wanted to be more calm. His emotions got a little too much of him before the fight. He said he was fine in the cage, but before, kind of let his emotions get the best of him. But, we'll they'll run that one back, and we'll see how that goes. And we'll be back next week. We'll talk about, do a little bit more preview on the UFC Vegas 28 card. We'll talk about AK. We'll talk about how all that went. Talk about Devin Haney, how he looked, and then all the stuff coming up. So that'll be it for today. And as you know, the first rule of the AYS Fight Club: tell all your friends about Fight Club. Make sure to go ahead and follow us on Twitter. Been having it scrolling at the bottom there for you. It's AYS_Fight Club. Oh, there you are.
There we go.
All right. Awesome.
Terrible.
Yeah, I figured it was that signal up there, but yeah, I'm not gonna keep you too much longer. We'll just a few more minutes and get you rolling here. But yeah, we were talking about the Fight Pass. That's a huge. I think you were getting into it. It's a huge opportunity for fighters to a huge platform. Worldwide platform to really display your skills on.
Absolutely. Like I said, it was an honor to be able to be the main event for AK's first show on Fight Pass. You know, and I think it put a lot of eyes on me, especially the way I went out and performed. And I'm excited to do it again for them. You know, like I've told them, man, I got nothing but finishes for AKA. You know, I I'm 3 for 3 as far as wins and finishes go every time I've gotten an AK cage, and I'm looking to keep that going on Fight Pass.
Yeah, I mean, even your team in general, the Fitness Fight Factor. I mean, it's just just whoever, all of y'all, just look great at AKA. I know Don Doyle's fight fell through. He
Yeah,
looked great the last time. I know he's bumping up to pro. Just an amazing young talent. Guys like him and you, and it's just, it just doesn't stop. Anytime I see, Fitness Fight Factor on there, like, I know it's going to be, an awesome fight. Just can't imagine what it's like training in there, especially, Johnny Bedford, and then, guys like Levi. Man, it's the best fighters in the world under one roof.
yeah, man. It's like I say all the time. It's a doghouse. There's, I go and I level up every day I'm in the gym. And I know that when I go and fight these guys, that there's just nothing that they can do that I haven't already seen when it comes fight time.
Yeah, your hardest fights are probably in the gym training than an actual fight night. Your teammates probably harder to fight than your opponents. That's got to be the beautiful thing about coming from a gym like that.
I take my L's in the gym, man, so I don't take them when it counts.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I say. A lot of amateur fighters take your L's now before you get to the pros, and like you said, take it in the gym before and when it doesn't go on your record.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I was looking forward to seeing his debut, but he'll get back on there. So I don't want to keep you too long. The fight's tomorrow. I'll be there. Definitely looking forward to it. But is there any sponsors you want to shout out? Any messages you want to throw out to the fans out there?
Just tune in, man. Tune in because you got to support these local fighters, and I'm gonna go put on a show for you guys, and that's at the end of the day, I'm an entertainer. That's my job. This is the entertainment business. I'm looking to entertain. I'm looking to make it I'm looking to either get a finish or I'm gonna go to war for 5 rounds. Like I'm gonna put on a show for the fans, and I'm gonna get my name out there. So tune in and just be ready for an awesome fight.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's going to be on Fight Pass. I think it's 6 pro fights, so, you can't ask for any more than that title fight in the main event. They're going to have a handful of prelim fights on the Facebook page. So, a ton of fights. You can't, like I say, turn in the Facebook, the Facebook page, catch the first half, then see Cody in the main event on Facebook, on the Fight Pass worldwide. Fight Pass is, all over. It's great exposure. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and let you go from here. But looking forward to seeing you tomorrow in action, and definitely have to have you come back on. Especially you have to come back with both the belts after you get that other one. Have them over both shoulders there for all the people on the Fight Club. So, man, I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you tomorrow, buddy.
Awesome, brother. Thank you for having me on. I'll see you tomorrow.
Yep, sounds good. See you later, man.
All right, bro.
All right. That was good. Get Cody back on. Yeah. Up in that area, you don't get a great reception. So, it's good to see him get back on here and finish the interview off good. So, like I said, we'll go ahead and end the show there, right at about an hour. But, yeah, like you're saying, and I say it all the time, support these fighters because that's all they get. A lot of them, them and their coaches in their gym is, that's all they got. They handle all their most of their expenses and stuff, So, the best thing to do is help these fighters out. You see them selling, T-shirts, do what you can to help them out. They're selling tickets, try to buy tickets from the fighters. All the little things help these guys, do whatever you can to help these fighters out. Attend these shows because that's why they're fighting, is to put on a show, for the cheers and the boos and the sounds from the crowd, just the energy, and if you've never been to an MMA event in person, it's totally different than, an MMA event on TV. It's totally different. I always like to make this comparison about my mom. My mom just passed away last month, but I love to make this comparison where my mom was not a sports fan at all. especially not hockey. Especially being down here in South Louisiana, she didn't care at all about hockey. But in Lafayette, there was the Louisiana Gators, Swamp Gators, when I was younger, and we went to games in person. And she's up yelling and screaming, and they're fighting. She's yelling at them to fight and stuff. And I'd never seen her act like that before. And she was like, "It's totally different in person," And I always have that great memory of my mom. Um, and bring your kids and have the same memories. When you can hear the leather popping and you hear, the moving around in the cage. It's almost to me like close my eyes and watch a basketball game. You can hear the sneakers squeaking and stuff. MMA is the same. You can hear the leather popping. You can hear the hands. So it's not the same unless you go to one of these events in person. It's totally different. Get out there and support these guys and just do what you can to help these guys out. The guys, the girls, everything. Help out the promoters, everything. Because they put on the shows for the fans. And it all boils down to the fans. A lot of these promotions haven't been able to put on shows because they can't have the fans there, and the fans are a big part of what makes the show what it is and what keeps it going. Both financially and like for a mental mind state for the for these organizations to have the fans there. So it's huge. But we'll go ahead and close it out with that. Close it out on my little rant about make sure you support your local fighters. But like I said, follow us on Twitter. It's AYS _ Fight Club. Go at it. I try to keep it active and add a, keep it active. Get on there. Add us. Talk to me on there. Share some pictures and stuff. I try to share news. Um, this isn't just a 1 day a week thing. We don't just get on here for an hour on Thursdays. The Fight Club is 24/7. Any combat sports, get on there. Let's talk about it. Let's share stuff about it. Let's make this a community, a family. That's what MMA is. MMA is more a family sport than any other sport because it's so tight knit. And I always say that, and I'll always support that fact. So this is for MMA. Fight Club is family. So we're 24/7. So just remember that. And the first rule of the Fight Club: tell all your friends about Fight Club. So we'll go ahead and end it there, and I'll catch y'all next week.